Good evening, everybody. My name is Rob Underwood. For those of you that I don't know or who don't know me, I am a umpire. I'm the trainer of umpires. Been with GHSA for the last 23 years, and I've actually been on the PEB and helped with video review probably for the last 10 years. So this is kind of open forum questions, answers. I'm going to tell you as a former PEB member and as an umpire, kind of what to be looking for mechanic wise and how to help grade our umpires as we get into the playoffs. So just a couple really points of emphasis and some of the things that we need to be looking for. And I'll kind of start with the kicking game. I'll start on the free kicks. Those of you who are evaluating umpires on free kicks, few of the things that we're looking for. If you look in the mechanics manual, again, I want everybody to follow the mechanics manual, but have a little bit of a gray area when you're looking at the mechanics manual and what the umpires do. So if you look in the mechanics manual, it should say that the umpire should be moving downfield on free kicks somewhere between 8 and 10 yards. And really depending on the kick itself, whether it's away from the umpire or on the umpire's side of the field, it'll determine where the umpire moves, whether it's to the hash or to the numbers. And so if you're watching umpires and you're trying to determine, if they're working mechanics correctly, kicks that are going deeper, deep kicks, and when I say deep kicks are somewhere 15, 10, 5 towards the end zone. We need to watch our umpires and make sure our umpires are moving at least 10 yards down there, that's moving at least to the 50, maybe a little bit past the 50, maybe down to the 48, 47, right around there. Kicks that are going away from them, he needs to move to the hash. Kicks that are moved to his side of the field, to the numbers. The point of emphasis, and again, when you're watching film, film that's coming from one direction from the sidelines will catch the umpire, but it typically will divert from the umpire and move downfield quickly. We want to see the umpire moving off the sideline, we want to see him moving quickly off the sideline. We don't want to see him stationary and not moving off the sideline. So again, watching them move off the sideline, moving downfield on long kicks. Now, kicks that are pooch kicks, then our umpire should be moving maybe 5 yards downfield, but still coming off the sideline. The only time that we don't want to see an umpire coming off the sideline is probably on onside kicks or really short pooch kicks to their side of the field. I think I'm touching on all of the free kick mechanics. Does anybody have any questions about what they're looking for and how to, I guess, grade umpires on free kick mechanics? All right, I'll move on to scrimmage kicks. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask. Scrimmage kicks, again, umpire's free kick position is going to be, pre-snap position is going to be about 10 yards off the ball. We're going to watch the center, make sure the center's protected. Once the line of scrimmage, both offense and defense, starts to move downfield on scrimmage kicks, the umpire should be turning, moving downfield with the kick, probably say somewhere around 10 to 15, maybe 20 yards away from the kick. Deeper kicks, it'll take a little bit more effort for the umpires to get downfield. Kicks that are a little bit shorter, basically turn and move with the kick. Umpires should be looking for pretty much illegal blocking techniques, whether it's blocks in the back, whether it's blindside blocks, but it's usually blocking techniques that are illegal and stuff. What we're looking for, again, is umpires that are moving down the field with the kick and looking for blocking techniques as the play comes back towards them. Most of the time, you're not going to see dead ball mechanics, but hopefully you'll see umpires that are getting retrieving a ball from the now receiving team and placing that in the proper position. Covers free kicks and scrimmage kicks. So let's talk a little bit about scrimmage plays, and we'll start with the runs on scrimmage plays. The runs on scrimmage plays, again, your mechanics manual will tell the umpires to line up somewhere between 6 and 9 yards deep. What we're looking for, again, is an umpire that is going to pre-snap positioning somewhere between 6 and 9 yard, no more than 10 yards deep. Guys, if you have umpires that are lining up 10, 11, 12 yards deep, unfortunately for them, they should be marked off for too deep in a pre-snap position. Now, one thing that I will say, the mechanics manual will say that the umpire should be heads up to the center for the majority of the time. An umpire typically will try to start heads up with the center, but I know for myself, my pre-snap position could be anywhere to the right or the left from tackle to tackle. So if you have guys, umpires that are setting up in their pre-snap position that are moving to the outside, to the guard or heads up to the tackle on the right or the left-hand side, do not mark them off. Again, because the umpire is responsible for center guards, and he's also responsible for seeing that ball. So a lot of times, if you have a nose guard on the defensive side of the ball, the umpire will have to move to the right or the left in order to see the ball. So just because the mechanics manual does say to try to line up heads up to the ball, umpires are allowed to go to the right or the left as long as they are in a position to see the ball and also see the center and the guards. So that's going to be our pre-snap position on both runs and passes. On run plays, the umpire, again, should be holding position for runs up the middle. For runs that are going to go to the outside, either right or the left, again, he should be officiating the line of scrimmage first and foremost. He's looking for blocking techniques, holding, things of that nature. But then once the runner is beyond the line of scrimmage, he should be keeping the mobile box intact, and he should be moving with the play as the play goes downfield. So as he moves downfield, he'll be observing blocking from the inside out position, looking for, again, holds or illegal blocks, which could be blindside blocks, low blocks, and things of that nature. But that's for runs both on the inside and the outside. Any questions? All right, let's move on to passing and umpire's responsibility on pass plays. Again, in 7-man mechanics, when we're looking at the playoffs, the umpire is primarily responsible for the line of scrimmage. There will be times where the umpire would turn and assist both wings and deep officials, primarily on a catch or no catch call. But most of those times are going to be for, I'll say slant routes, on routes that are coming back to the inside where maybe our wings or deep officials are blocked out. But 99% of the time, our umpires should be officiating the line of scrimmage, and only if there's no threats at the line of scrimmage, meaning, again, center, guards, tackles, if they're not engaged, if everybody, we'll say, behaving at the line of scrimmage, then can he turn and help assist on pass plays. But again, 99% of the time, our umpires, we want them focused on the line of scrimmage and not turning on pass plays. Other things to look for on pass plays, if passes are going 20, 30, 40 yards downfield and you have an umpire that's turning, there's no reason for an umpire to turn on long passes. He can be of no help on long passes. So if an umpire does turn, again, typically it's going to be on slant routes, and it's going to be on routes that are maybe 10, 15, or 20 yards at the most. So again, to reiterate, umpires mechanically on pass plays should be officiating a line of scrimmage. Only a few times during the course of a game will he turn and help support. And if he is turning, he's going to help support catch or no catch. Over, in addition to the mechanics, some of the things that you might be observant of are the 5 position pre-snap positions, whether it's left hash, right hash, whether it's left, right, upright, or right, upright, or whether it's center on the field. We want to make sure that they are marking or spotting those balls close to those positions. But one of the things you can be observant of is on penalties. If it's a penalty that's going to go back to the previous spot, that they make sure if they started from like the right hash on a penalty that's going to be a previous spot enforcement, that they do go back and enforce that from the previous spot, and the next down is snapped from that previous spot.
That's going to apply also, Rob, on those longer incomplete passes, making sure it's going back to the point, one of the 5 points where it had been before. Got to keep an eye out for that, and don't want them having it be on the right upright to begin with, and the next snap is positioned if it was an incomplete pass, say center.
Correct. You're right, Duncan. Yeah. If we have an incomplete pass and we started from the left hash, then we should be going back for, let's say, second down, the next down at that left hash, yeah. Right hash, right hash. So yeah, we want to make sure that they're going back to that previous spot, as close to that previous spot location as possible. Those are the major topics that we're looking for from the umpire's position. Does anybody have any questions? So if you'd like to, I'm going to give you my phone number. If you have any questions when you're reviewing film, I'll be more than happy. You can give me a call. If you have a question, I have access to most of these film via Huddle. I can look at them when you're looking at them. And I'll be more than happy to answer any questions or help you as you're evaluating these films. And my number is 404-502-2653. And again, it's 404-502-2653. So the last thing that I want to leave everybody with, and this is how I evaluated really all positions, and I'm really looking for consistency or inconsistency. I'm looking for tendencies. So if I look at, and we're just going to use umpires since we're talking about umpires. So if I'm watching an umpire, and let's say that he's not working the mechanics, and if I watch him and I see the same play 10 times and he's not working those mechanics one time, maybe 2 times, but 8 or 9 times he works the mechanics as it's written, as we've discussed, I'm not going to take points away from him. Again, I'm looking for consistency or inconsistent acts of that umpire that, working those mechanics of that position. So, I'm not going to fail somebody because, I see them not working a mechanic 1 time or 2 times, but 10 times or 20 or 30 times during the course of a game, he's worked those mechanics. It's when you see blatant errors, whether it's penalty administration, again, when it's judgment calls, and you're watching a film and you think, okay, well, that umpire should have called that hold, but he didn't. Well, you don't need to take points away from an umpire because his judgment may have been different from your judgment. Let's make sure it's black and white when we talk about either adding points or taking points away from an umpire or any official at any given position. Anybody have any questions for me? And I apologize not having my video on. I'm sitting in a parking lot at a gas station right now, so it's kind of dark.
Yeah, Mr. Rob, this is Dan. Can you go over the goal line mechanics for umpires just to make sure we're all on the same page, at least for me, please?
Sure. Sure. You're talking about goal line going in, 7 yards going in.
Yes,
You
sir.
there, Dan?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yes. So yeah, when we talk about when we have a snap that's at the 7 yard line or inside the 7 yard line going in, our mechanics change a little bit different in where an umpire should be moving towards the line of scrimmage. Some of the things that an umpire is looking for is ineligibles going downfield, meaning typically our linemen. But let me kind of add to it as an umpire, although mechanically it typically says our line judge is responsible for that. You know, I try to make sure that our linemen are not going downfield, but specifically when we talk about 7 yard line, goal line mechanics, yeah, we're going to make sure that our linemen are not going downfield. We're going to help assist with the referee and our wings if the passer goes beyond the line of scrimmage. And then we also need to make sure or need to be observant of where the ball is caught, whether it's behind or beyond the line of scrimmage. So as an umpire, let's say if we're starting at the 7 yard line, I might start just a little bit inside the goal line, or maybe I'm at the 1 yard line. But once I read pass, I'm moving towards the line of scrimmage. If I read run, I'll stay stationary. As we get closer to the goal line, my position will change. Let's say if we get to the 3 or 4 yard line, I'm probably going to be about 3 or 4 yards deep into the end zone. As we get closer to the end zone, let's say the 1 or 2 yard line, I'm probably going to stay there. What I don't want to see is if we're at the 1 yard line, an umpire on the back line. Again, an umpire probably should be positioned somewhere no deeper than about 4 yards deep. Because let's think about this. If we're at the 1 or 2 yard line, you know, what's going to be the play 99% of the time? It's going to be a run between the tackles. So he needs to be in position to where he can see that ball carrier and determine whether he's crossed the goal line and whether he has scored so he can help assist with wings. Does that answer your question? You have any other?
Yes, sir. That was good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hey, Rob, are you doing the hands to the chest thing or no?
Yeah, again, I know maybe at least 1 or 2 associations have decided maybe not to go to hands to the chest based off of last year's, what was it, 3A state finals. But yes, I'm going to hands to the chest. And let me just kind of elaborate on that. I'm looking at my wings as they crash in to see if they need assistance. You know, hands to the chest should be used on goal line plays where the ball carrier is really just getting across the line of scrimmage. It's really up the middle where our wings may be blocked out. If you have a runner that is making it into the end zone standing up, there's no reason to go hands to the chest. But if he's coming in through the middle where that ball may be just crossing the goal line by a half a yard or maybe a yard, then I'm going to look towards my covering wing as he's crashing in. And I'll use if he has a deer in the headlights, look to him. I'm going to give him some assistance. And if I need to go hands to the chest that says, hey, I have the ball in the end zone, then I'm going to do that. But let's remember, you know, when we go hands to the chest, we're not telling our wings or anybody else that the runner has scored. All we're telling them is, I have the ball in the end zone. It's up to them to determine whether that runner was down before he crossed the goal line or whether he made it into the end zone. But to answer your question, yes, I'm going hands to the chest if I need to.
Thank you.
So we shouldn't mark a guy down for doing that.
No, again, per GHSA mechanics, unless I didn't read it correctly, it doesn't say anything about not going hands to the chest. So going hands to the chest does not deter from going up or down in the grading.
No, it's still in the book, and it should be. And everybody looks back at that play from last year, and it's all about, hey, he just saw the guy in the end zone. It was up to the wing officials to determine how he got there. I mean, that's what it's for.
Correct.
Good enough, thanks.
What other questions, guys? Guys, again, I appreciate everybody's willingness to serve on the PEB. You have my number. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I'll be more than happy to help you. I wish you all the best as we get closer to the playoffs. And I know it's a tough job, but do your due diligence and do the best that you can. All right. We got a deep on here. Who's gonna do the deeps? Clyde?
Yep, I'm here. And before I start, I'm gonna.
All right, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
All right, I just dropped my contact information in the chat for anybody that might need to get in contact with me later. Hold on one second. I got a presentation I'll pull up.
Hey.
Clyde, where are you working at this weekend?
Virginia military
You'd flying or driving?
driving.
Oh, have fun with that. Well, it's not too bad.
Can y'all see my screen?
Got it.
All right, so a lot of this or some of this stuff will be overlap from some of the things that Kenny Simon and David Reynolds spoke about with the short wings presentation yesterday. So I won't read everything, but just kind of highlight some of the main points about the deep officials. And much like yourselves, I'll be serving on the PEB this year. This will be my first experience. So looking forward to it. So the theme that we've had with communicating with Deeps this year is how to be great. How can we be great as officials and really be the glue for the crew? So we're going to go over the basic mechanics changes of switching sidelines, mindset and mechanics for philosophies of deep officials, a message to you all about some things to consider when evaluating your games, and then the game itself. So for switching sidelines, everybody should be familiar, but big thing is during live ball, there are no mechanics changes. The bag judge will key to the line judge's side of the field for balance formations all game long. So obviously that'll change with the half. One half he'll be looking one way, he or she, and one half they'll be looking the other way, right? But field judge and side judge, no changes in their mechanics whatsoever. Once we have halftime, they will flip sides of the field with the head line judge and line judge accordingly. In the pregame, everyone should be introducing themselves to both head coaches, especially the field judge and side judge, because you're going to see both coaches. Side judge, you're going to escort the team that's on the press box sideline for the first half, and field judge the team that is opposite the press box sideline. Most of the time that's going to be home team, visiting team, but there are some venues that the teams are actually opposite of what typically you would see. First half, field judge, between the first and second period, you'll assist the line judge with moving the chains. If we have any measurements, field judge, you'll be responsible for the down box during measurements, and side judge will be responsible for getting players out the way during that procedure and getting a new ball in after the measurement is done. Second half, that'll flip. Side judge will be responsible for the down box and helping with moving the chains between third and fourth quarters, and field judge will be responsible for the players and getting a new ball. Coming out of the first half, coming back, side judge, you will escort the team opposite the press box back to the field if they need assistance finding their way back, and field judge, you will escort the team that's press box side. And we just go back to our standard duties that we always have done in the past as field judge, side judge. Some things to consider. Know your mechanics, right? There's no excuses for not knowing your mechanics, especially if you're fortunate enough to be officiating deep into the postseason. Communication is everything, right? If the crew doesn't communicate well, eventually at some point something will fall by the wayside. We want our deep officials to hustle but not hurry. Just because they're moving fast doesn't mean that they are officiating great, right? So we want them to be intentional about everything that they do and not move just to move, but at the same time, we do want them moving when needed. Be a great dead ball official. This is very big for all the crew, but definitely deep officials, because I think deep officials have the greatest opportunity to impact the game in this regard. So be masters of the clock status, play clock and game clock. Show a presence with players when necessary, when we got opposing players in places where trouble might happen, right? So side zones, even in the middle of the field after a play. Again, move when needed, right? Read the play, then react. We don't need deep officials backing up 10, 15 yards on 2-yard dive plays, right? We want to officiate with our eyes as much as possible. We want to be stationary when the play arrives so we can have the best look at what's happening and make a sound judgment. And we want to dominate the kicking game, right? This is kind of where we make our money, right? So we got to know the rules. We got to make sure that we watch the players, not the ball, right? Because the ball is not going to commit a foul. And we got to be able to help each other if needed. So if for some reason we don't know something, we don't have all the pieces of the puzzle, it's okay to stop the clock and get with your counterparts and discuss. Initial positioning for standard scrimmage plays. Field judge, side judge, 20 to 25 yards off the line of scrimmage, back judge 25 to 30. We can have some fluidity here. It just depends on what the game presents us. Obviously, if we are on the last play of a half and, teams got to score a touchdown to tie or win, right? It serves us no justice, being 20 yards off the ball, right? But likewise, if we got two teams that are running the wishbone, we don't need to be, the back judge doesn't need to be 30 yards off the line of scrimmage to start a play, right? So just understand there that they can have a little liberty, but, we want them to do things that make sense. Initial positioning for punts is no less than 5 yards behind the deepest receiver. Personally, myself, I like to be 10 yards. But again, we want them no less than 5 yards. The point there kind of is we don't want the play to get behind the deep officials. Right. Too often I see scrimmage kick plays where the deep officials are on the same yard line as the returner once the return's happening, or some cases in front. Don't officiate air, right? Know when to move away from your keys in all types of plays. We want the deep official to be involved in the game, right? So not just the 6 big pass plays they have all game, but help the crew, penalty enforcement, ball rotation, clock status. We want our officials to move smart, right? So, backpedaling looks cool, right? But don't try to backpedal 60 yards down the field and get beat by 20 yards to the goal line, right? Don't walk. This is a problem, especially on free kicks. But you can jog, you can run if necessary. You can even stay in the same spot in many places on many plays, but don't walk. Walking looks bad. And again, we want to officiate with our eyes as much as possible. And we only want to have quality fouls, right? So we don't want to insert ourselves into the game unless absolutely necessary. And when we do, we only want it to be because of safety. And if the foul is a matter of advantage or disadvantage for one team or the other. Any questions so far? All right, moving along. So things to consider as evaluators: fouls during passing plays, defensive holding, offensive pass interference, defensive pass interference. What was the action that you saw big enough to constitute a foul, right? Was there any material restriction, right? Sometimes we see plays and things look bad, but if we really think about it, right, we can't really categorize what we saw as a foul. And sometimes things don't look that big, but if we got good positioning, good mechanics, it doesn't take a lot to disadvantage a player, right? And then did the foul occur in the same third of the field as the pass was thrown, right? So we might have a hold on the right side of the field, but if the quarterback was looking to the left the entire time and threw the ball over there, that's not one you want to throw. That's one you just want to talk to the player. Holds during runs, same concepts. Is it at the point of attack, away from the ball? Does it affect the play? Camera angles are everything, right? When we're assessing plays. So, just consider that when you're evaluating the play. If we don't have a good camera angle, it's kind of hard to ding an official. Switching sidelines, make sure we're evaluating the right officials, the right half. Judgment calls, right? Again, kind of with that camera angle. If you're going to ding an official, make sure it can be seen on film and it's easy to see, right? Sometimes we can assume, but let's not downgrade somebody because of an assumption. And big thing, right? It's mechanics, right? So positioning, was the official where they needed to be during the play, despite what the outcome of the play might have been, all right? Moving along. So free kicks. We want, mainly with the field judge, side judge, we don't want them moving downfield until the kicking team's past them, right? Because that's who they're keying off of. So if you got deep officials that are instantly moving as soon as the ball is kicked, they're probably not officiating anything. If for some reason we got a short kick, are the deep officials winding the clock when the ball is legally touched in their area? We want to divide the field into thirds, but in the case of 7-man, more so quadrants, but officiate your zone. Whatever comes into your zone. Obviously, if you got a player that starts in your zone and they're going all the way across the field, you just want to stay glued to that person. But that's kind of how we want to look at free kicks, because we want to officiate threats, right? So we don't want to officiate double team blocks too much, go to something else, a different engagement, unless we something very exotic with that double team block that causes us to stay there. Punts, deeper is better as far as I'm concerned. It's a lot easier to move forward than it is to move backwards. Right after the snap, we want to get a sense of direction for the flight of the ball, but we don't want the deep officials with the bill of their caps hanging high for 2-3 seconds watching the ball, because that means they're not watching the players. And if we got press coverage at the line of scrimmage, we want them watching that very closely as long as needed. Once we got a return and the kick's alive, or even coming down the field, we want to watch for the players carrying the brick in their hand, players that are going from one side of the field to the other, peeling back. We want to maintain that good cushion with our returner, like I spoke of earlier. We don't want deep officials rushing to get a spot. Oftentimes I see on film, we got deep officials that, again, play's not even over and they're right on top of the play, right? So, we can always get a spot, but we can use the short wings to help us as necessary, but, don't ding an official if they're a yard off a spot, right? Better for them to see the blindside block than get the spot precise. When the ball hits the ground, interesting things happen. So, how are they with rules in that situation? Things they don't see often, such as illegal batting, illegal kicking. Does the returner, do they give a fair catch signal and then block during the play, right? These are different things that you have to consider once the ball hits the ground. For scoring kicks, we want that side judge to be, I like him about 3 to 5 yards behind the umpire, right? So they can get that wider view, mainly looking at the defensive backfield players that, aren't immediately on the line of scrimmage, right? Because those are the ones that have the greatest propensity to try to do something crazy, like swan dive over the line, right? Back judge is responsible for the crossbar on kicks, but field judge definitely should help out with that as well. They need to know if the kicking play is live, because if it is a field goal attempt, right, 20-yard line and out, field judge, side judge are responsible for the goal line. Back judge still being responsible for the end line. Going in, we want the deep wings to communicate with the line of scrimmage officials. We don't necessarily need to wait for the head line judge to push us back. We can talk to him as well. Occasionally you still see it. Sometimes you'll see watch a tape and you'll see a scrimmage play, goal line play where nobody covers the goal line, right? So passes, we want the deep officials to stay with their keys until they're free from foul. We want them to work with their partners on the sideline for catch, no catch, and on the end line as well. And after the play, we got a score. That's when, again, we want to be great dead ball officials. That's when a lot of times defense is mad because they got scored on. Offense is very happy because they, struck gold, and they might do things, say things. Especially if we got TV games, they might want to get a lot of camera time or something like that. So we just got to be aware of the officials after the play. Going out, just got to be aware that we got a long way to run as deep officials. So again, don't backpedal all the way down the field, right? They got to know when to turn and run. Got to understand their own physical abilities. But we want to continue to officiate, because it's better to continue to officiate and see something than just turn and run for the sake of trying to make it to the goal line before the ball carrier, right? So we don't want to see that those deep officials, they're just looking straight at the team V goal line. And we want to make sure their sideline is clear, because when we got a long way to run, that's when things can be most dangerous. We want to stay upright the whole game, right? So are they keeping that sideline clear? So those are the major points that I have for the deep officials for this call. Does anyone have any questions about anything, whether it be positioning or mechanics? Anything about deep officials?
Clyde. Clyde,
Yes.
Larry Cook, on a free kick, return for a touchdown,
Mm-hmm.
back judge's responsibilities. He's the same as the umpire. He just works the middle. He doesn't have any goal line responsibilities there, does he?
Back judge does have goal line responsibility on that.
He does.
Correct.
So you'll have three. You'll have your field judge, side judge, and back judge retreating to the goal line.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? Well, if no questions, again, my contact information is in the chat. Feel free to take it down, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Good job, Clyde.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for everybody. I want to make sure that you all have mechanics manuals. Does anybody not have a mechanics manual? Also, on the GHSA training website, the insert for the training manual, please go there and look at that. There's a few things in the manual that are wrong that we have put together inserts for your manual, for, tells you page and wherever it's at, the changes. Is everybody familiar with that? Hopefully.
That's up
I
on
just
the, that's up on the Weebly site.
Yes, GHSA football training site. Yes.
Okay.
Make sure you look at that if you have any questions. And I just want to say one thing. What we're looking for in a nutshell is everybody doing the basics really well. When it all comes down to it, is everybody doing the basic mechanics very, very well. Those are the best people. The people who are average at their mechanics are good officials, but the people who we want in the finals have to be excellent at the basics. That's getting a spot, pre-snap routine, being in position, every play. Those are the things that those are the officials that we want in the finals. Does that make sense? That's all I got. Thank you again for all your future hard work.